ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, we have just completed this 33rd shloka. Sadrusham cheshtate swasya prakrute jnanavanapi prakrutim yanti bhutani. So all beings, they follow their nature. Even a jnanavan, even a jnani, he follows the nature. So it is very, very difficult to control it. So that is where we ended. Then there was a question, because Lord Krishna is not going to stop with that conclusion. He has not thrown up his arms in a helpless manner, saying that it is Prakriti which dictates and we cannot do anything. It is not Krishna's idea, nor is the idea of Vedas. So the next question, the Avatarika also we read. Yadi sarvo jantuhu atmanah prakriti sadrushameva cheshtate. If every being, if every human being goes only according to his own nature, as impelled by his natural desires and as impelled by his own say impulses, let us say natural impulses, then what is the use of the Shastra? Shastra is there, the Veda is there which prescribes certain dharma. So dharma is there for every person according to his say status in the society. There is a particular dharma which is prescribed for him. Then what is the role of Shastra? Shastra is should not be rendered irrelevant. So that is the Avatarika. So in that context, the next shloka comes. So let us read this shloka. Indriyasya indriyasyarthe ragadvesha vyavasthitau tayorna vashamagachet tauhyasya paripanthinau. So he says, Lord Krishna says, it is a very difficult prescription. Indriyasya indriyasya arthe ragadvesha vyavasthitau. So this raga and dvesha, these two things we have come across even earlier. That is likes and dislikes. Raga, attachment, and again aversion or hatred. So these two things, they go together. So you see something, immediately you have got some liking or some like or dislike. And depending on your own prejudices, your own predisposition, your own the way your vasanas are built up over a period of time, depending on your vasanas, you have some like, you have got some dislike for whatever you see. Indriyasya indriyasyarthe ragadvesha vyavasthitau means in all indriyas, in all the indriyas or for every indriyam, there is something. Of course, indriyam itself cannot do anything. Indriyam means here we have to take the mind. For example, my eye is seeing something. Eye has no hatred either for X or Y. It is the mind which has either like or dislike for X or Y. So indriyasya indriyasyartha means in the case of all the sensory organs, which means all sensory organs, they take sense objects to the mind and then present before the mind, and it is the mind which has its own reaction. It has its own reaction of either like or dislike. So here indriyasya indriyasyartha means in the case of all things, whether belonging to all senses, that is the meaning here. All objects belonging to all senses, that is all objects which are perceived by all the senses. Belonging to means perceived by all the senses. There is raga dvesha which is well established. Vyavasthitau means which is well established in the sense that you have a particular liking for some food item. You have some particular liking for a particular smell. You have liking for a particular type of drink you want to take. Something like eating, similarly eating. And similarly for a friend or a foe, you have got your own likes and dislikes for various people. So in all these things, there is what is called mind which is intervening. This mind is one thing which is intervening. Because of its predisposition, it is not able to see things clearly. It is in a rather muddled state. And for an ordinary man it is okay. But then for a sadhaka, for a seeker who wants to be on the jnana path, or who wants to do Nishkama Karma. Arjuna, there are two situations which we are seeing in Gita. That is, one is a person who is on the Jnana path and one who is in Nishkama Karma. For both these, this Raga and Dvesha have to be avoided. For an ordinary man, okay, this fellow his mind is muddled, he is steeped in Raga Dvesha, he is so submerged in Raga and Dvesha, he reacts according to his own impulses and all that. That is okay. But then, Tauhyasya, the next line says, Tayoho Vasham na agachet, na Vasham agachet. So don't come under their control. You have to control Raga and Dvesha. You should not come under their control because Tauhyasya paripanthinau. They are the obstacles. They are something like the thieves who stop you on the way and then rob you. They are something like the highway robbers. That is the word he uses. So Shankaracharya comments Paripanthi. Somebody who stalks, who stalks you on the way and then who robs you. So that is the meaning here. So let us see the shloka. Indriyasya arthe. So Indriyasya. So it is a specific sort of idiomatic way of saying in Sanskrit. In Telugu also, in almost all Indian languages, we have this sort of idiomatic expression. Suppose you say, Manishi Manishiki. Manishi Manishiki means for every man. Inti Intlo, that means in every house. And if I want to see something in Hindi, Rom Mein Basne Wale Ram. There is this famous song by this lady Lata Mangeshkar. Rom Mein Basne Wale Ram. So that is in every Rom, in every hair, Rama is there in every part of the body, in every hair of the body. So that is what it says. That means every part. Indriyasya means in all Indriyas. That is an idiomatic expression. In all the Indriyas, Arthe, that is in Vishaya. Whatever object, sense object, that particular sense perceives, Raga Dveshau, Raga plus Dvesha, they become Raga Dveshau. It is a dual number. We know what is a singular number, dual number and plural. So we know that. Raga Dveshau Vyavasthitau. Vyavasthitau means they are well established, they are well settled rather. Vyavastha, you know, Vyavastha is an arrangement. Vyavasthitau is they are in such arrangement. They are having that particular relationship. They are fairly well established. For every sense object, the mind has its own, say, like or dislike. So this is what is well established in the case of an ignorant man, in the case of an ordinary man who is under the control of Raga and Dvesha. Then, Tayoho na Vasham agachet. Tayoho means of these two. Tayoho is of these two. Na Vasham agachet. Vasham na agachet means do not come under their control. It is a command. It is a command to Arjuna. Do not come under. Arjuna means everybody, to all of us. Tayoho na Vasham agachet. Tau hi asya paripanthinau. Tau means these two. Saha taute. Tau, these two. Asya, he means because. Asya paripanthinau. Asya means of this person. Who is this person? This person means a seeker. Krishna is telling about a seeker. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa. All these things he has been saying. Ye me matam nidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha. All these things he has been saying, sometimes in second person and sometimes in third person he has been saying. Here again he is saying in third person. Tauhi asya paripanthina. Of this person, of this seeker, they are the enemies. They are the obstacles which stand in the way and then which rob him. Which rob him of what? Which rob him of his intellect, which rob him of his viveka, which rob him of his proper understanding, and then drag him along with in the stream of Raga and Dvesha. So that is what is the say thing here. So the point mentioned here is, say you keep the mind totally neutral. Do not have this Raga and Dvesha. It is a very difficult thing to practice. But then this is meant for. You see, in Gita, we find there are several shlokas which we have to just study, which we have to see, and then try to practice. There are several shlokas like that, where you have to just read a shloka, contemplate on its meaning, and then say on a particular day you take one shloka, and then try to contemplate on the meaning of the shloka, and then try to practice. So it is really difficult. That is what actually is sadhana. Because Raga Dvesha, this Prakriti is like a stream. It is just coming. It is coming like a gush of a stream. So you have to stop it. How to stop it? You can't suddenly stop it. You have to slowly practice. That is what is called abhyasa. Patanjali Yoga Sutra says, Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam Tan Nirodha. Abhyasa and Vairagya. These two have to be consciously cultivated over a period of time. It cannot happen in a day. So it has to be cultivated over a period of time, and slowly that stream has to be checked, slowly that stream has to be diverted. So that is how self-control has to be practiced. So in fact, it is a very, very difficult thing. In fact, Krishna on one hand, he is telling Arjuna to fight. And then he is saying, you control your raga and dvesha. So while controlling raga and dvesha, he has to fight. Well, you imagine a difficult, very tough situation. A Swamiji who has renounced and staying in an ashram, he can do all these things. But then, what about a fighter? What about a fighter who is there in the field? He has to face his enemies. Still, he should not get angry. He has to do it with all equanimity and with a great sense of aloofness, total aloofness. And then he has to do it with such great dispassion. You imagine what type of self-restraint and what type of great maturity, great understanding which a person has to have. This is what is Karma Yoga. The problem is the Karma Yoga, the problem is this is tougher than totally renouncing. In fact, there is one, I am reminded of one good poem by one English poet called W.B. Yeats, Y-E-A-T-S, Yeats. So he wrote a poem called The Long-Legged Fly. The long-legged fly. I don't know whether I gave this example earlier or not. I gave the example. So suppose there is a stream. A stream is passing. Stream, when the water, it flows quite fast. If you have seen a stream, particularly in rural areas, of course in urban areas we are so cut off from nature, we don't see a stream. Suppose you see a stream, sometimes there will be some flies. There will be a lot of vegetation all around. Some flies will be there. There is a fly with long legs. The water will be flowing underneath. The fly is just stationary, just not moving. It just does not move. Normally all things which are there in the stream, they just carried away in the stream. They just float and go in the stream. But this long-legged fly, the fly stays on the stream, and then it keeps on, the stream goes away, but then it keeps there only. So he says, like a long-legged fly upon the stream, his mind moves upon silence. So he gives three examples. Example of Julius Caesar, who was a warrior. Julius Caesar, who was actually browsing all these charts of all these maps of his enemy territory and his territory and whatnot. I have to conquer this, that, etc. Of course, we don't know. We don't know whether Julius Caesar was a karma yogi or not. We will not go into that. And then he gives the example of another lady called Leda. Then another example he gives, something like Michelangelo, who was doing that painting. So he gives the examples of three people who are all karma yogis, and then according to him anyway, and then whose mind was actually moving on silence. So that is the important part, whose mind moves upon silence. While they are very busy in their work, their mind is totally silent. So that is the thing here. Ragadvesha vyavasthito, Arjuna is supposed to fight on one hand, but at the same time he has to control his raga and dvesha and then fight. So tayoho navasham agachet. You see the words indriyasya plus indriyasya arthe, indriyasya arthe raga dvesha vyavasthito, tayoho plus na, tayorna, vasham agachet plus tau, vasham agachet tau, he asya paripanthinau. He means yasmat, because asya paripanthinau means obstacles. We will see this bhashyam. Indriyasya arthe sarvendriyanam arthe shabdadi vishaye ishte ragaha anishte dveshaha ityevam pratindriyarthe ragadveshau avasyam bhavinau. Okay. So here he says indriyasya arthe. So indriyasya, I explained that idiomatic expression. In every sarvendriyanam arthe, indriyasya means sarvendriyanam, of all the indriyas, of all the senses, arthe, that is in the vishaya. What are these vishayas? Shabda adi vishaye. Shabda adi means ear corresponds to shabda, eye corresponds to something which is Rupa. So all these things, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, we know. So all these 5 Vishayas which are there, the sense objects which are there, all types of things which are perceived by all the 5 senses. So the whole universe which is perceived by the human being. Shabdadi Vishaye, Ishte Ragaha and Ishte Dveshaha. That is, in Ishte means in something which you like, there is attachment. And Anishte Dveshaha, in something which you don't like, you have a hatred. So that is another thing. Ishte ragaha anishte dveshaha ityevam pratindriyarth. Ityevam means like this, in this manner. Iti plus evam, ityevam, in this manner. Pratindriyarthe ragadveshavu avasyam bhavinav. Pratindriyarthe means in every indriyartha, in every object relating to a particular sense, ragadveshavu avasyam bhavinav. This raga and dvesha are inevitable. Inevitable. They are there, they are so well established because of what? Because of so many predispositions, because of so many vasanas which are there built up over a period of time. And we have seen that vasanas, they not only belong to this janma, the vasanas also belong to the previous janmas. So there is a baggage which is there. That baggage, it decides, and then it tells you. So it tells you what you like and what you dislike. So this mind gets muddled with that. So the idea is that you have to free the mind from all this muddle. You have to the basic idea is, when does the mind become fit to receive jnana? Only when it is pure. So when it is so muddled with raga and dvesha, a very angry fellow, he goes and sits in some Vedanta class, what will happen to him? You have full of hatred for somebody. You have just quarreled, you have got so much of, just had a quarrel, and then you are having something else in your mind to do, what type of, how you have to, say, take revenge on that man and whatnot. And then you sit in a Vedanta class. So obviously you cannot concentrate on this Vedanta. Vedanta just cannot go into the mind. You will feel that all this thing is nonsense. So that is the picture. So the mind has to be pure if it has to receive the superior level of jnana. If you are getting muddled in that, if you want to be in that muddle, fine. So but then if you want to come to this nishkama karma level, or if you want to come to jnana level, what you have to do is to control the mind over a period of time. It is not easy. It is very, very difficult. You react to so many things. In fact, this morning, I was reading one news item in the newspaper. What is that? In one place, Vizag. So there is a proposed fashion show by some people. We all were all people with so much of freedom and whatnot. So they displayed the pictures of Lord Ganesha and Krishna on the undergarments of women. On the undergarments of women they displayed, and they had all posters, and that is a proposed thing, and people were protesting against it. So what to do in this case? So raga, dvesha you are supposed to control, but still somebody has to fight. Somebody has to fight against it in a rather Gandhian way. There is no way of protesting. Of course, Arjuna's fight was totally different. In those days, it was the order of the day. Kshatriya, they used to challenge each other, and then they used to fight. That was the order of the day. But now we are not supposed to take law into our own hands. We are supposed to only go legally. So mind gets rather disturbed. You see, that again incidentally is deliberately done by a fashion designer of a particular religion. It is not something innocently done. A fashion designer of a particular religion has consciously done it. How is it that how is it the civilization which he has acquired from his all his background and whatnot? So these are certain things where you still sometimes feel agitated. So, but anyway, all these things, this is a thing which has to be very consciously and slowly cultivated, this raga, dvesha, jaya. And then this mind has to come to that level of equanimity where if you have to fight also, you fight in a very, very, like this Arjuna, like Gandhi himself. Gandhi, in fact, he was influenced by whom? You have any idea? Gandhi was very much influenced by Gita, and not directly. Gita influenced one American writer called Henry David Thoreau, and Thoreau was a great thinker. He was deeply influenced by Gita, and then his writings influenced Gandhi. Gandhi was not directly influenced by Gita. So later, after reading Thoreau and all that this gentleman also got interested in Gita and then subsequently started reading Gita. So like that, maybe the Gandhian way only has to be followed, but then Gandhi also fought in his own way. That's Satyam, the truth of, the strength of truth. So that was the Satyagraha, that strength of truth, determination for truth. So that was his weapon. So anyway, Ragadveshau avasyam bhavinau, next line, Tatra ayam purushakarasya शास्त्रार्थस्य च विषय उच्यते. So tatra means in this context. Tatra means in this context. Ayam purushakarasya shastrarthasya cha vishayah uchyate. So purushakara is again, I told you, it's a very correct expression. Purushakara is human will, human endeavor, human effort. So what is the role of free will? In the last class I was telling about this free will and determinism. If a man is so totally pre-programmed, what is the role of a free will? What is the role of his own say effort, human endeavor at all? Otherwise everybody will be just, there is no need for anybody to do anything. Shastra is of no use, and then everybody, he can be just engaged in his own impulsive manner. It's not like that. Shastrarthasya cha vishayah uchyate. What is the role of Shastrartha? So that is being told. Shastrarthe pravruttaha purvameva ragadveshayoho vasham na agachet. Yahi purushasya prakrutihi sa ragadvesha purassara eva. Purassara eva, okay. So purassara eva swakarye purusham pravartayati tada. There should be one yada here. Is there a yada in your book? Huh? No. Okay, it doesn't matter. Tada swadharma parityagaha paradharma anushthanam cha bhavati. Anushthanam. Okay, we will stop here. Where is it? Tatra ayam purushakarasya. Okay, shastrarthe pravruttaha purvameva ragadveshayoho vasham na agachet. So shastrarthe pravruttaha, a person who is a student of Shastra. Shastrarthe pravrutta means one who is following the instructions of the Shastra. Purvameva ragadveshayoho vasham na agachet. That means he should not come under the control of this ragadvesha. How? By sheer sadhana. There is no way, there is no easy way. There is no trick. So by sheer sadhana and effort only, one has to slowly overcome this raga and dvesha. That is in what manner? By contemplation. You like a thing or you dislike a thing, then you have to brood over that, you have to think about that, then you have to see what exactly is impelling you, what exactly is forcing you to hate that. So by constant contemplation, you have to slowly get over that particular feeling of raga and dvesha. And then ragadveshayoho vasham na agachet yahi purushasya prakrutihi. That is, whatever is the nature of a particular person. Yahi, ya means whatever. Yahi purushas he, because whatever is the prakriti or nature of a particular person, sa ragadvesha purassaraiva swakariye purusham pravartayati. That particular nature impels this person along with this ragadvesha only. Ragadvesha purassara means just coupled with this raga dvesha. It is not this man's action, this man's every effort of this man, every work of this man, every action of this man is impelled, or rather is associated with this raga and dvesha only. It is associated with raga and dvesha. That is how nature, his own nature impels him to go into actions. Raga dvesha purassaraiva purusham pravartayati. Tada, then what happens? Tada, then he feels confounded. Then he is rather say confused as to what to do. Then Shastra says something. Shastra says, okay, this is your dharma. A particular person, Arjuna, is born as a Kshatriya. He is a king. He is there, he is engaged in a dharma war. So when in such a situation, he gets confounded. He feels he comes under the spell of this raga and dvesha. So he says, all these people are mine. I am going to kill all these people. And then he becomes a sentimental. Kshatriya is not supposed to become sentimental. Suppose somebody who is there on that Kargil war, Kargil height, the enemy is coming and then this fellow becomes very sentimental about it. He cannot become sentimental. He can't afford to become sentimental. That is Swadharma Parityaga. So like that, स्वकार्ये पुरुषं प्रवर्तता स्वधर्मपरित्यागः परधर्मानुष्ठानं च भवति. So this man, he sometimes he tries to give up, he tries to forget his own swadharma. Swadharma is another word which Shankaracharya is using it here, because next shloka is going to say, Shankaracharya, he is not putting his own ideas into this, he is connecting it to the next shloka. Next shloka is talking about Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha. He is talking about Swadharma. So that is why Shankaracharya is connecting to that shloka. So Swadharma we have to understand. Dharma we know. Dharma of course is a very, very difficult word to translate, but then if we very simplistically translate also, it is a particular code of conduct, a particular behavioral pattern, a set of norms which are there to hold a society together. That is what is dharma. Dharma dharanat dharma uchyate, we know. So it is basically meant to keep the society in cohesion, keep some harmony in society, not a forcible cohesion, but a harmony, a harmonious entity, a harmonious cohesion. So that is what dharma is supposed to ensure. So swadharma, so we have to see there are two types of dharmas. There are certain dharmas which are common to everybody. Common to everybody, that is, you have to respect your elders, you have to speak truth, something like 10 commandments, something you should not steal, you should not go after somebody else's wife. All these things, that is called the general dharma. Then there are certain specific dharmas, there are certain specific duties for particular roles. So you are a Kshatriya, your job is to protect the society. Then somebody else, his duty is to study the scriptures, his duty is to, he is called a Brahmana, depending on the guna, the predominance of guna. Again, we have to remember, we should not relate it to the present day caste system. This present day caste system is a slightly peculiar derivative out of so many social factors we need not discuss. But then this Brahmana, his predominant quality is Sattva Guna. Only on that he can be called a Brahmin, because there is a lot of discussion in Mahabharata. In fact, I have told you several times that depending on the guna, a person's varna has to be decided and not otherwise. Shankaracharya himself says, Chandalostu satu dvijostu gururityeva eshamaniisha mama. Whether he is a Chandala or a Dvija, whoever it is, he is my guru if he is having that Atma Jnana. So that is what Manisha Panchakam says. I think you know that. Not aware of it? There is a beautiful 5 shlokas. They are called Manisha Panchakam. Manisha Panchakam. That is, the last line says, Chandalostu satu dvijostu gururityesha manisha mama. That is, whether he is a Chandala or whether he is a guru, the person who is having that Brahma Jnana, he is my guru. I accept him as a guru. And Jnana, everybody is eligible for Jnana, entitled. Everybody is entitled for Jnana, not only a particular Varna. So that is the thing here. So Swadharma means, Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. That is for a Dvija. Dvija means for all the Dvijas. Swadhyaya, particularly for a Brahmana, Swadhyaya is studying his particular branch of Veda. And then Pravachanam, he is also supposed to teach. That is what is called Rishi Runam. I told about this Rishi Runam. The Rishis have given us a particular culture, they have given us a particular tradition. We have to follow this tradition. Not only follow this tradition, we have to hand it over to the next generation. So that is called Rishi Runam. Redeeming yourself from this debt of this Rishis. So that is what has to be done. Then a Kshatriya, he is supposed to do something. So like that, there are certain dharmas which are assigned for particular people. So that is called Vishesha Dharma. The Samanya Dharma, like speaking truth and all these things, that is applicable to everybody. Vishesha Dharma applicable to certain, depending on his social position. So this when you talk about Swadharma, you refer to this particular Vishesha Dharma. You are referring to this Vishesha Dharma, which is enjoined on a particular person depending on his position, depending on his place where he is in the society. For example, today of course all that is not there. Somebody who is an administrative officer, an Indian administrative officer, his basic job is to see how best he has to advise the political boss. And then some other man, a policeman may be there. Policeman should not try to do this administrator's job, and nor that man should try to do this man's job. And judiciary is there. Judiciary, they should not try to do administrative job. So like that. I am just giving a very simple example. Sometimes they overlap, But still, as an example, I am just telling. So, Swadharma is something which is just a duty, a specific duty for a specific person. So, this Swadharma Parityagaha Paradharma Anushtanam cha bhavati. So, here what is Arjuna doing? Arjuna wants to give up his role and then he wants to take up a very easy path of becoming a mendicant, becoming a sannyasi, which is not his dharma. Kshatriya is not supposed to become a sannyasi. He is not supposed to relinquish and go. He is supposed to stay firm and then do his job. Okay. Paradharma anushtanam cha bhavati. Yada punaha ragadveshau tat pratipakshena niyamayati tada shastra drushtireva purusho bhavati na prakriti vashaha tasmat tayoho ragadveshayoho vasham na gachet. Okay. So he says yada punaha, when again, in the case where, that is yada punaha means in the case where ragadveshau, this raga and dvesha are controlled by tat pratipakshena. They are controlled by their opponent. What is the opponent of raga and dvesha? It is wisdom. Wisdom, clear thinking, an analytical thinking, a proper contemplation, viveka buddhi, in Sanskrit, viveka buddhi. So viveka means discrimination, a proper discrimination. This is what is the pratipanthi. It is the pratipakshi. Pratipakshi means opponent. Opponent for this raga and dvesha. This raga dvesha have to be controlled by their opponent called clear thinking, wisdom. So this wisdom, and then they say this tat pratipakshena niyamayati. So this niyamayati means controls. Raga dvesha are controlled by their opponent or an antagonist. Their antagonist and then their adversary is this clear thinking only. Then tada shastra dushtireva purusho bhavati na prakriti vashaha. In that case, then you can call him a Shastra Drushti. Shastra Drushti means one who is having a proper vision as seen through the Shastra, as seen through the scripture. So he has a scripture as his eye. He is looking through the lenses of the scripture. That is it. Shastra Drushti means he is seeing through the lenses of the scripture. So which means he is following scripture. He has overcome. He has overcome his raga and dvesha. So that is the meaning here. Then Shastra Dushtireva Purusho Bhavati na Prakriti Vashaha. So he is not under the spell or under the influence of that nature, of his own impulsive behavior. So which means the mind is something which is a product of his a person's, all his prejudices, predispositions and all that. So all that mind has to be cleaned. It has to be cleaned. In fact, that is what some time ago I was saying about Mano Nasha, the word used by Vidyaranya Muni in that Jivan Mukti Viveka. Vidyaranya says Mano Nasha. Mano Nasha means not a destruction of the mind. Mano Nasha means whatever are these impurities are there in the mind, they have to go away. And then the mind becomes a clean slate, a clear mirror in order to take the reflection of that supreme consciousness. So only then that chit pratibimba will be very clear and not otherwise. Otherwise in a muddy water, I also gave the example of muddy water. Or in all muddy water and also where it is disturbed, you don't get the reflection of the sun or moon. The water, number one, the water should be clear and at the same time it should be still. Both are required. Both Nischalatvam and Nirmalatvam are both required. So that is the picture here. So tat pratipakshena niyamayati tada shastra dushtireva purusho bhavati na prakriti vashaha. So his mind gets totally absorbed, his mind gets totally withdrawn. Mind means his all other say raga, dvesha, etc., all the dirt which is there in the mind, it is cleaned. So prakriti vashaha tasmat tayoho ragadveshayoho vasham na gachet. Therefore, do not come under the control of this raga and dvesha. Yataha tau hi asya पुरुषस्य परिपन्थिनौ श्रेयो मार्गस्य विघ्नकर्तारौ तस्कराविव इत्यर्थः. So yataha means because tau hi, tau hi means those two things. Tau means those two. Asya Purushasya means of this seeker, one who wants to be in the path of what is this Nishkama Karma Marga. Of this Purusha, they are the Paripanthinau. Shreyo Margasya Vighna Kartarau. They are the obstacles. Vighna Karta. Vighna, you know, Vighna is an obstacle. Vighna Karta means one who creates an obstacle. Shreyo Margasya. Who is Vighna obstacle for what? Shreyo Marga. Shreyo Marga means the path of Shreyas. When he is going on a nobler path, Shreyo Marga is nobler path. Shreya is that noble thing. That is supreme goal. So when he is on that goal, these things, this raga and dvesha are creating some vighna. They are creating an obstacle for him. So here there is one good note by Madhusudana Saraswati. Madhusudana Saraswati I have been reading now and then. Paripanthino dasyuriva patikhasya. He says, Idamcha, he refers to one Udgita Brahmanam of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. He quotes one line. I will just read this line and then explain to you. Dvayeha prajapatyaha devasya asurasya tatah kaniyasa eva devaha jayasa asuraha tayeshu lokeshu aspardhanta ityadi shrutau. He says, he refers to one Shruti. Shastra viparita pravrittim asuratvena shastriya pravrittim cha devatvena nirupya. So he says, he refers to one Brahmanam in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In that Brahmanam, there is a sort of spardha, there is a sort of competition or clash between the Devas and Asuras. So in that context, what is meant by a Deva and what is meant by an Asura? There is a Upanishad goes into the details and then it tells about Omkara Upasana, Udgita Upasana and whatnot. And then in that context, Shankaracharya gives an explanation to that. So there, Ashastriya Pravritti, that is called Asuratva. Ashastriya Pravritti means that is going against the prescription of the Shastra, going according to your Prakriti, going according to your impulsive behavior, going according to your own, natural physical tendencies. That is called Asuratva. Asushu Ramante iti Asuraha. I think I told that several times. Asushu means Indriyeshu Ramante. They take pleasure in all their sensual desires. So that they are called Asuras. They are the demons. Asura in English we say demons. Devaha on the other hand is, Deva is Diva. Diva means Dyotanarthakam. Dyotanarthakam means shining, who are very bright. What is that? Brightness and shining, it indicates knowledge, jnana, that is following the Shastra Pravritti. So those who, the ideas which are in accordance with Shastra and the ideas which are conflicting with the Shastras, these two things clash in a human being. Shankaracharya calls it an Adhyatmika Sangrama. This so-called Deva and Asura Sangrama is not something which happens somewhere in the heavens, but it is something which happens in the mind of every man. Pratidinam. In fact, he says, I have noted down that line, Anyonya Abhibhavodbhava Rupaha Sangrama Iva Sarva Pranishu Pratideham Devasura Sangramo Anadikala Pravurtaha. This Devasura Sangrama, this clash between this good and bad, this clash between Deva and Asura is something which is there eternally. It has been coming down eternally. Anadikala Pravurtaha. It has been coming down eternally in every human being. Pratideham. Deva, this thing, it is there. Sangrama Iva. Sarva Pranishu. In all human beings, this clash is going on eternally. So that is what Shankaracharya says there in that Bhashyam in another place. So these Devas and Asuras are like that. So here again what we see here is the clash between this Shastrartha and the Prakriti behavior, the Swabhavika behavior. Swabhavika behavior wants to drag you in that stream. This Shastra thing is trying to push you on the other side. So a man has to sit like that long-legged fly and then do his job in a very clear manner. So that is the meaning here. Asya paripanthinau shreyo margasya vighna kartarau. Shreyo margasya vighna kartarau taskara viva. Taskara means, who is a taskara? Taskara is a thief. And then not only an ordinary thief. Thief is somebody who steals something without your knowledge. But here this is a robber. He is there standing in your way. When you are on that noble path, he is standing in your way and then he is trying to rob you. So rob you of your intellect, rob you of your wisdom, rob you of your clear understanding. So that is the meaning here. Okay, next line. Next shloka. Tatra ragadvesha prayukto manyate shastrartham api anyatha परधर्मोऽपि धर्मत्वाद् अनुष्ठेय एव इति तदसत्. Okay, then this is a sort of small Purvapaksha. Avatarika gives a small Purvapaksha. Ragadvesha prayukto manyate shastrarthamapi anyatha. So Ragadvesha prayukta, somebody who is impelled by this raga and dvesha, he even misunderstands the scripture. He even misunderstands this scripture. And then shastrarthamapi anyatha paradharmopi dharmatvad anushthaya eva. Even this paradharma is one dharma. Okay, let me follow that. Paradharma also is a dharma. Let me follow that. So that is what he thinks. So if that is so, that is not correct. Tat asat means that is not correct. So let us read this shloka. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushthitat swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. So here you see that Arjuna actually wanted to leave his dharma. This particular shloka we have to take it as a particular instruction, a specific instruction to Arjuna, because Arjuna wanted to leave his dharma and then accept dharma of somebody else. So that is in that context only Arjuna, Lord Krishna is saying this swadharma. What is this swadharma? I just explained to you about what is this samanya dharma and also vishesha dharma. How this vishesha dharma, which is specifically meant for a particular person in a particular place in the society, that is called this swadharma. So that has to be accepted according to, in the present context. In olden days, okay, even in the olden days, even Lord Krishna said it is depending on the guna only. Depending on the guna only, the varna was created. Now, in fact, in the today, 21st century, we can accept what, we have to accept what Lord Krishna said, and not what sometime in between, some in the dark ages, in the middle ages, what the Indian say society has accepted. We have to accept, we have to take the meaning which Lord Krishna gave initially for this word guna. So here let us see this shloka. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushthitat. So this swadharma is something which is nobler, which has to be followed, which is a better choice. Shreyan here means which is a better choice. Swadharmaha vigunaha, though it is having some small defects, there may be some built-in defects. Vigunaha means, for example, a Kshatriya may think, yes, I am doing some himsa, I am killing people. That is his duty, because society requires that. A judge who is sitting in judgment, he should not say, no, I cannot impose this punishment of, death. He cannot say like that. If it is so required, he has to give a death sentence. So that is his duty. Similarly, a Kshatriya, it is his duty to fight the opponent. So these are things which may be construed or which may be understood as some defects in their dharma. That may be construed as some sort of small defect, viguna. Viguna means that some defect in dharma. So the himsa, because people say there is a popular saying, Rajyante Narakam Dhruvam. That is, a king, after ruling his empire, all his kingdom and all that, Narakam, he goes to hell. So that is a popular saying. It is not in any scripture or smruti, but that is a popular saying. Suppose a person is guided by these things, guided by these impressions, saying that because a king, during his tenure as a king, an all-powerful king, he may be doing so many irregular things. He may be punishing some bad people, he may be punishing some good people without knowing. So all these things, say collectively, they may act on him. So that is what can be the popular impression. So that is why a Raja, a king, he is supposed to know what he is doing. He is supposed to be trained in the Vedas. He is supposed to be trained in logic. I told about this king's syllabus in olden days. So anyway, swadharmaha vigunaha, though it is associated with some small defects, this swadharma is something which is a better choice, which has to be followed. Then paradharmat swanushthitat, it is a better than what? Better than this paradharma, superior to paradharma, that is somebody else's dharma. Su anushthitat becomes swanushthitat. Paradharmat swanushthitat means su plus anushthitat, swanushthitat. Su means well, in a proper way. Anushthitat, conducted, performed. Though it is perfectly performed. So paradharma, this man Arjuna becomes a mendicant and does his job excellently well. or he becomes a Vedanta teacher and then he starts teaching Gita. So that is a paradharma for him. So he may be doing that very well, but then he has given up his job. He has given up his job of protecting the society and then he has taken up some Gita Patham. So he is not supposed to do like that. He may be a good teacher, we do not know. So paradharma swanushtita swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha means in one's own dharma, it is better to live and die in one's own dharma. Better to live and die in one's own dharma because paradharmaha bhayavaha. It is something which is really frightening. Why is it frightening? Because the Shastra says paradharma, anusthana of a paradharma, it will lead only to bad result. He will not get any punya lokas, he will only go to some better, other punya loka and papa loka, let us say. He will go to some type of, some shade of hell. So something like that. So that is why it is frightening. Bhayavaha means it is frightening. So let us see this shloka. Shreyan swadharmaha vigunaha. Swadharmaha vigunaha. Paradharmat su plus anushthitat swanushthitat. Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmaha bhayavaha. The words are very simple. Let us see this bhashyam. Shreyan iti. Shreyan prashasya taraha. Svo dharmaha swadharmaha. Vigunopi. Vigata gunopi अनुष्ठीयमानः paradharmat swanushthitat sadgunyena sampaditadapi. Swadharme, okay, we will stop here. Shreyan prashasya taraha. Prashasya taraha means praiseworthy. Prashasya, which is better, which is praiseworthy. Prashamsa, you know, prashamsa is praising, commending. Prashasya taraha means it is more commended, it is more commendable, it is more praiseworthy. Prashasya taraha swadharmaha, one's own dharma. Vigunaha api. Viguna I explained. Vigata gunaha api. The vigunopi means vigata gunaha anushtiyama. Api anushtiyamanaha. Vigata gunaha means though it is having some defects, it is having some small built-in defects. Vigata gunaha api anushtiyamanaha. One, it is being performed in a proper way. Anushtiyamanaha. Paradharmat swanushthitat sadgunyena sampaditadapi. Paradharma he is trying to do in a very, very proper way. Paradharma he is trying to do in a very perfect manner. Sadgunyena means with all sadgunas. Satguna, we know. What is Sadguna is what? With all perfect, qualifications. With all perfect qualifications, he tries to implement somebody else's dharma. Imagine same Arjuna, he, with all perfect qualifications, he also tries to do this sannyasa vritti. So that is the thing. Sampaditam api. Swadharme sthitasya nidhanam maranam api shreyaha. So did we read this?
No.
Swadharme sthitasya nidhanam maranamapi shreyaha paradharme sthitasya jivitat kasmat paradharmo bhayavaha narakadi lakshanam bhayam avahati yataha. Okay. So swadharme sthitasya, one who stays in his own dharma, sthitasya nidhanam means maranamapi, even death is shreyaha, that is better. Paradharme sthitasya jivitat, it is better than going into some other dharma and then trying to do that particular dharma and live like that. Just simply for the sake of living, you are not supposed to take up somebody else's dharma and then give up your dharma. Kasmat, what for? Because paradharmaha bhayavaha. Paradharmaha is bhayavaha. Bhayavaha is something which is frightening. What for? Narakadi lakshanam bhayam avahati yataha. Because yataha means because narakadi lakshanam bhayam avahati. So it is actually, it will lead you to naraka. Narakadi lakshanam. Naraka and all such. Naraka we know. Naraka is hell. Narakadi lakshanam bhayam avahati yataha. Okay, next line. यद्यपि अनर्थमूलं ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः रागद्वेषौ ह्यस्य परिपन्थिनौ इति च उक्तं विक्षिप्तम् अनवधारितं च यदुक्तं तत् संक्षिप्तं निश्चितं च इदमेव इति ज्ञातुम् इच्छन् Arjuna uvacha. So this means, so though this root cause of misery has been well explained, root cause of misery has been well explained, like what? Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. This is an earlier shloka, second adhyaya, 62nd shloka. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate, sangas sanjayate kamaha. All those things he has explained. So if you keep on contemplating anything, then you get attachment, and then by that attachment, this raga and dvesha, all these things, they come in a sequence. All these things, they are all coming in a sequence. So that has been explained earlier. So this anartha moolam, what is that? That raga has been explained earlier. Vishayan pumsa ragadvesho hyasya paripantino. In the earlier shloka, he again said raga and dvesha are the say highway robbers. Iti cha uktam vikshiptam anavadharicham cha eduktam. That means it has been told in different places in a rather say casual way. Vikshiptam means vikshiptam is scattered. Vikshipta is scattered. Vikshiptam uktam means it has been told in different places in a rather loose manner, not in a very cohesive manner, not in a very decisive manner. Vikshiptam cha anavadharitam cha. Avadharana means emphasis. Avadharana means very emphatically saying something. This is avadharanam. Anavadharitam uktam is not so emphatically, it has not been told. So Arjuna wants to listen to it in a very, very clear, decisive manner in one place. So what Krishna said in two, three different places, something. But then he wants, no, I want in a more concrete manner, I want in a more definite and decisive manner. So that is what he says. Yadyapi, even though anartha moolam, that is the anarthasya moolam, that is the root cause of anartha. Moolam is the root cause. Anarthasya moolam, the root cause of all this anartha or misery or distress. Dhyayataha vishayan pumsaha, that is one shloka. Ragadvesho hyasya paripantino, that is another shloka. Iti cha uktam, it has been told. Vikshiptam anavadharitam cha eduktam. Vikshiptam, I explained, anavadharitam. It has been told in a rather scattered manner, and anavadharitam, not in a very emphatic manner. It has been told. Yaduktam tat samkshiptam nishchitam cha idamevedi jnatum. That I want to know concisely. Samkshiptam, not vikshiptam, I want samkshiptam. You see this upasarga, the play of upasarga, you say change the small upasarga, the prefix and the meaning changes. What has been told in a vikshiptam, I want in a samkshipta manner, I want in a condensed manner. Samkshiptam is in a condensed manner, in one place, in a very emphatic manner. Samkshiptam nishchitam cha. Nishchitam is definite. Cha idameva iti gnatum icchan. Idameva, only this and nothing else. So that you please tell me very emphatically. Gnatehi tasmin tad uchchedaya yatnam kuryam iti. Okay, if I know, Gnatehi tasmin means if that is known. In case it is known, tad uchchedaya yatnam kuryam. I will try to uproot it. Uchcheda means just to uproot it. Whatever is that moolam. Moolam, you know, what is the root? If suppose there is a bad, say plant, it is a harmful plant. You pluck it out along with the roots. So like that moolam means root of a plant. So uchcheda means just pluck it out along with the root. I want to pluck it out along with the root so that it will not again sprout, it will not come up again. So that is the meaning. Next shloka. Atha Arjuna uvacha atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. So it is only a question by Arjuna. You please tell me definitely. Atha, then, kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha. This human being, purusha means human being. Kena prayuktaka. Kena prayuktaha means impelled by what? Propelled by what? Motivated or driven by what? Driven by what? A person does this papa karma. Papa karma means this sinful action. All this sinful action. He goes along with the stream of Prakriti, and then he doesn't listen to Shastra. What is the thing? What is it that drives him or impels him or motivates him to take a wrong path? So that is the meaning. Anichannapi Varshneya, hey Varshneya. Varshneya is Sambodhana. Sambodhana to Lord Krishna. Varshneya is one who is born in the Vrishnikula. We know that various clans are there. Different clans are there. Not Kaunteya. For example, Kaurava. Kaurava means one who is born in the Kuru clan. Pandava, one who is born in the Pandu clan. Something else we say, some other Vamsha. So that particular clan. Varshneya is somebody who is born in that Vrishni clan. Vrishni clan is called Varshneya. So, hey Varshneya, O Krishna, Anichannapi, though the person is unwilling. So he knows in the heart of hearts that what he is doing, 5 minutes, okay. He knows in the heart of hearts that what he is doing is wrong. But he still flows with the current. He is still driven by the current. So what is the reason? Baladiva niyojitaha, as though he is forcibly employed in that. Balad niyojitaha iva. Iva means as though. Iva is as though. Balat niyojitaha, as though he is forcibly employed there. He is following that stream as though he is forcibly employed by it. So what is it? What is it that is motivating him? We'll see this Bhashyam. These words are very simple. Atha kena prayuktaha ayam. Becomes prayuktoyam. Papam charati purushaha. Anichan api. Anichan api. Varshneya balat iva niyojitaha. Baladiva niyojitaha. See the Bhashyam. Atha kena hetu bhutena. Prayuktasan. Rajnya iva bhrutyah. Ayam papam karma charati acharati. Purushaha swayam anichannapi. He Varshneya Vrishnikula prasuta Baladiva niyojitaha Rajnya iva Ityuktaha drushtantaha. Okay. So in one line, Shankaracharya has finished the Bhashyam because it is a simple question. Atha kena hetu bhutena prayuktaha. Hetu. Hetu means we know reason, cause. Hetu bhutena. What is the cause here? Kena hetu bhutena. What is the cause here? Prayukta son. That is driven by what? Driven by that. Prayuktaha means he is employed by that or driven by that. Rajnya iva bhrutyaha. As though a servant is commanded by a king. Rajnya iva bhrutyaha. Bhrutya is a servant. Raja is, of course, Rajnya means by a king. Bhrutyaha iva. As though a servant, say, commanded by a king. Then Bhrutyaha ayam papam karma charati acharati purushaha. How this papam karma charati means this particular human being, he does all this papa karma. Charati acharati. Swayam anichannapi. Though he knows, he has heard some Shastra, it is not as though he is totally ignorant of Shastra. He knows that what he is doing is wrong. And then he wants to control, but still he is not able to control. Still he goes along this natural Swabhavika Guna. What is the reason? He Varshneya Vrishnikula prasuta, one who is born in this Vrishnikula, Baladiva niyojitaha, Rajnya iva yukta iti, yuktaha drushtantaha. Rajnya iva. Rajnya iva means by a king. So that is a proper example. That is what Shankaracharya says. Is a proper example is as though a servant has been commanded by a king. So here the servant is a human being and the Raja, the commander, is the Prakriti. Prakriti with all its raga, dvesha, with all its predisposition, that is driving a man. So let us see the next shloka. Shrunutvam tam vairinam sarva anarthakaram yam tvam pruchasi. So he says, okay, listen. Okay, listen. Shrunutvam. Tvam means you. Shrunu. Shrunu means suno. Listen. Shrunutvam tam vairinam sarvanarthakaram yam tvam pruchasi. You listen to, I am telling you, listen to who you know who is that sarvanarthakaram vairi. Sarvanarthakari vairi. Who is that vairi? Vairi means enemy. Vairinam means about that vairi. Sarvanarthakaram. Who is the root cause for all this anartha? Who is the root cause for all this misery, distress and whatnot? You listen. I am saying you listen. So that is what he says. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kamayesha Krodhayesha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam iha vairinam. So he says, Kama, I will just explain this shloka and we'll stop. I think 1 or 2 minutes may be there. Kama yesha, krodha yesha. So this is kama, this is krodha. There is no distinction between these two. Kama means desire. Krodha means anger, fury. Because of this kama, desire, and if there is any small obstacle in achieving the desire, you become furious. You become so excited, you become so enraged. So this kama and krodha are nothing but one and the same. This kama only gets morphed, or rather, say it undergoes a sort of mutation or a change. It becomes krodha. The krodha becomes dvesha. Dvesha leads to something else, something else. So all these kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara, these 6 enemies, Arishad Varga, they are all one and the same. Kama is getting transformed, or it goes some sort of transmutation, mutation, and then becomes krodha. The krodha becomes moha. It leads to delusion and whatnot. So all these things. Kama, that is why he says, Kama yesha, krodha yesha. Yesha means this one. This one means what you are asking. Who is the enemy? He says, this is the enemy. This is the enemy. Kama is the enemy. Krodha is the enemy. That means Kama and Krodha are one and the same. They are not different. Rajoguna samudbhavaha. He is also referring to them in the singular number. Rajoguna samudbhavaha. Singular. Kama is Krodha. He is not treating them as two things. He is treating them as one thing only. Rajoguna samudbhavaha. These which are born out of this Rajoguna. Rajoguna, I will explain in the next class also. But then Rajoguna, simply we know that Rajoguna is that spirit of achievement. That is one ambition. I want this, I want that, greed, ambition, desire, acquisitiveness, all these things, sense of achievement, an exaggerated sense of achievement, let us say, all these things, desire for achievement. So all those things. Mahashanaha, mahapapma, mahashanaha. Mahashana means that is all devouring. It eats and eats and eats, and then still it is not satiated. You feed whatever you want, you give it, but still the hunger is not satiated. It is so hungry. Mahasanaha, mahapapma. Mahapapma means it is so sinful. Because it wants to devour everything. He wants to grab everybody's property. So that is mahapapma. Vidhi enam iha vairinam. Enam, this one. Iha vairinam vidhi. You know that this is the enemy. You know that this is the enemy. What is that enemy? Kama, that is desire. Desire for more than what you deserve. Desire for more than what you deserve is that kama. So that is the enemy. So that is how he is going to describe in the next bhashya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.